They say that the statin is not going to remove the plaque in your arteries, that once it's there, it's permanent. But what if that's not true at all? What if the very thing you've been told is unchangeable could actually be healed and reversed? Here's a fact that should make you pause. According to the American Heart Association, more than half of Americans over 50 already have some form of arterial plaque, often without knowing it. That means even if you feel fine, your arteries may be silently narrowing. Imagine walking around with a ticking time bomb inside your chest, one that could rupture at any moment. Most people picture arteries as fixed pipes, like plumbing in your house. But the reality is very different. They're living tissue, constantly renewing, responding to damage, and trying to heal. And the foods you eat can either trigger more inflammation or switch on the body's natural repair system. Think about this. Every meal is either building your health or quietly tearing it down. The breakfast pastry that looks harmless could be fueling plaque. Meanwhile, a bowl of fresh berries or leafy greens could be acting like medicine. The choice happens 3 times a day, every day. And most of us don't realize how high the stakes really are. Now imagine this. Your breakfast isn't just a box of sugary cereal or a greasy donut. It could actually be the first step in repairing your arteries. A handful of blueberries, deep purple and rich in natural compounds, can improve blood flow like nature's own prescription. A few walnuts, raw and unprocessed, deliver omega-3s that calm inflammation instead of feeding it. Lunch can do the same if you choose wisely. A chickpea salad with lemon and parsley isn't just light. It feeds the healthy bacteria in your gut that create anti-inflammatory signals throughout the body. Roasted sweet potatoes with a touch of cinnamon can help balance blood sugar, preventing the spikes that damage vessels over time. Even simple greens like kale or bok choy produce nitric oxide, a gas your arteries use to relax and open wide. These aren't bland or boring foods. They're colorful, flavorful, and powerful. Think of them as medicine on a plate, but without the side effects. Dr. Karen Miles, a cardiologist in Chicago, often reminds her patients that it's not about chasing the next supplement. It's about eating real food in its natural form. That's where the healing begins. The science supports it too. Whole plant foods, fruits, beans, leafy greens, and whole grains don't just lower cholesterol. They reduce inflammation and activate the endothelium, the inner lining of your arteries, to produce more nitric oxide. This keeps vessels flexible instead of stiff. Clinical trials have shown measurable reversal of artery blockages with these kinds of diets. The bigger picture is this. Every forkful is a choice. We can fuel the fire of inflammation, or we can cool it down. And the tools are right in front of us, in the produce aisle, at the farmer's market, even in your own backyard garden. The real question is whether we're ready to use them. But food isn't just about what you add. It's also about what you avoid. Highly processed foods, animal fats, and added sugars don't just clog arteries. They inflame them. That hidden inflammation is often more dangerous than cholesterol itself. It quietly damages the vessel lining until one day it erupts as a heart attack or stroke. Even foods we think of as healthy can cancel each other's benefits when combined. For example, bananas can blunt the vascular boost of blueberries. It sounds strange, but nutrition is chemistry, and your body reacts to combinations, not just single ingredients. This means being mindful not only of what you eat, but also how you pair foods at each meal. When I worked with Mr. Johnson, a 68-year-old retired teacher in Ohio, he thought swapping soda for fruit smoothies was enough. But he loaded them with bananas and yogurt every morning, thinking it was heart-healthy. His blood pressure still climbed, Only when he balanced the fruit choices with berries and leafy greens did his numbers begin to improve. Sometimes small tweaks make all the difference. The big issue is that processed foods are engineered to hit your brain's pleasure centers, not your heart's needs. They strip away fiber, concentrate sugar and fat, and light up your reward system just like addictive substances. That's why stopping at just one chip feels impossible. Food companies know this, and they've designed products to keep you hooked, even if it means fueling inflammation day after day. So the warning is clear. Every donut, every processed snack, every slice of greasy pizza adds to a fire you cannot feel until it's too late. But every choice to step away from those foods is a chance to protect your arteries. The question is whether you want food to be your slow poison or your daily medicine. Arterial plaque is a mix of oxidized LDL cholesterol, white blood cells, calcium, and scar tissue that builds up silently over decades. What makes this dangerous is not just the presence of cholesterol, but the constant injury and inflammation inside the vessel walls. High blood pressure, high blood sugar, smoking, even ongoing stress. All of these bruise the delicate lining of your arteries. Unlike a stubbed toe that hurts right away, arterial damage is silent until disaster strikes. When those vessel linings weaken, small LDL particles slip underneath, get oxidized, and trigger the immune system. Macrophages rush in, trying to clean up the mess, but they can't clear the cholesterol. Instead, they swell into foamy cells that pile up into fatty streaks. The birthplace of plaque. Over time, your body tries to stabilize the damage by laying down collagen, forming a fibrous cap over the streak. But in the early stages, that cap is fragile, and under pressure it can rupture, causing sudden heart attacks or strokes. I once spoke with a woman in Florida, 72 years old, who lived with normal cholesterol but still ended up in the hospital with a blocked artery. Her doctors explained that inflammation, not just her cholesterol numbers, was the hidden culprit. She admitted years of stress, processed foods, and unchecked blood pressure had quietly worn her arteries down. Her story is a reminder that numbers on a lab test don't always show the full picture. The hopeful truth is that this process isn't set in stone. Inflammation can be calmed, plaques can be stabilized, and the risk of rupture can be dramatically lowered. Diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes address the root cause, not just the symptoms. Medications may still have a place, but they are only part of the equation. The real power lies in treating inflammation day after day through what you eat and how you live. In life, we all need examples, real proof that change is possible. When we look at the longest living cultures, places like Okinawa in Japan or Sardinia in Italy, we see common threads. They don't rely on pills or extreme diets. They eat mostly whole plant foods. They move naturally throughout the day, and they lean on strong communities. Their meals are simple, often from gardens or local markets, yet they provide powerful protection against chronic disease. Contrast that with what we see in modern cities across the U.S. Here, convenience has replaced tradition. Pills are seen as health, while food is treated as an afterthought. I've met patients in their 60s who truly believed their blood pressure medication was enough. But when they kept the same high-salt, high-fat habits, their arteries kept stiffening. And eventually, the medications stopped working. As one cardiologist said, it's like trying to fix your floor while water is still pouring through the ceiling. The leak is inflammation, and food can either turn it off or turn it on. Every bite matters. It's not just about adding vegetables, it's also about removing the thousands of chemicals we've poured into processed food. Industry strips plants of fiber and minerals, then adds salt, sugar, and fat, to keep us hooked. These aren't accidents. They're deliberate choices that trade our long-term health for short-term profit. If you compare the joy of sharing a bean stew with neighbors in Sardinia to eating a microwaved meal alone, the difference is striking. One fuels healing and connection, the other fuels isolation and inflammation. The lesson from these longevity cultures is simple. Healing doesn't come from a bottle. It comes from daily habits, the food on your plate, and the people you share it with. One of the biggest breakthroughs in this story is nitric oxide. This tiny gas molecule is your body's natural vessel protector. It helps arteries stay relaxed, elastic, and open so blood flows freely. Doctors even prescribe drugs that mimic nitric oxide when patients suffer from chest pain. But here's the surprise. Your food can trigger the exact same effect without a prescription. Leafy greens like arugula, kale, and spinach, along with beets, are packed with nitrates. When you eat them, your body converts those nitrates into nitric oxide, instantly boosting circulation. A single serving of raw arugula can raise nitric oxide levels for hours, helping to prevent stiffness and improving oxygen delivery. It's like giving your blood vessels a workout with every meal. Mr. Alvarez, a 66-year-old retiree in Texas, shared that his daily beet smoothie helped him walk longer without calf pain. His doctor later confirmed his blood pressure had improved too. Now, think about the flip side. After a heavy, high-fat meal, say eggs fried in butter or a plate of fatty meats, your nitric oxide production crashes. Arteries stiffen for hours, circulation slows, and inflammatory markers spike. Many people think stomach discomfort after such meals is normal, but in reality, it's your arteries struggling. Over years, these repeated crashes add up, raising the risk of heart attacks and strokes. This is where common advice online can get dangerous. Some influencers push high-fat, low-carb diets as if lowering blood sugar alone is enough, but plaque isn't caused by one factor. If LDL particles and inflammation are still rising, you're simply trading one fire for another. True healing comes when blood sugar, cholesterol, and inflammation are all balanced together. That's the power of nitric oxide. It addresses multiple pathways at once. Many influencers claim that a high-fat, low-carb diet reverses plaque by lowering blood sugar. Yes, it's true that controlling glucose is important, but plaque is caused by more than one trigger. If your LDL particles are climbing or inflammation markers are rising, you're solving one problem while fueling another. It's like putting out a kitchen fire only to leave a gas leak burning in the basement. Some of the loudest voices online push butter, coconut oil, or even bacon as safe, just because carbs are cut out. That kind of shortcut can backfire badly. I remember a man in California, 59 years old, who went full ketogenic with loads of fatty meats. His blood sugar did drop, but his cholesterol spiked, and his cardiologist warned him his arteries were stiffening faster than before. It was a painful reminder that numbers on a glucose meter don't tell the whole story. Think of it like oxygen and fire. You need oxygen to breathe, but too much feeds a blaze. The same goes for LDL and glucose, both necessary, both harmful in excess. When people isolate one metric, they miss the bigger picture. True health comes from balance, not extremes. So the next time you see a headline promising miracle results from cutting just one food group, be cautious. Ask yourself, does this advice address inflammation, cholesterol, and blood sugar together? Or is it just another fad wrapped in science-sounding language? If the answer is the latter, it could be steering you straight into harm's way. Well, look at longevity cultures. Okinawans in Japan, Sardinians in Italy, even Seventh-day Adventists in California. They all share a pattern that's surprisingly simple. Their meals are built around beans, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and nuts. Some foods are eaten raw like berries and leafy greens, while others, like tomatoes, become even more powerful after cooking. This mix gives their bodies both variety and balance. What stands out is that they don't obsess over macronutrient charts or trendy diets. Instead, food is woven into community, rituals, and daily life. When Mrs. Tanaka, an 82-year-old from Okinawa, prepares her lentil soup, it isn't just fuel. It's part of a rhythm that connects her to neighbors and family. That emotional bond around food adds resilience that no supplement can mimic. There's also science behind their traditions. Cooking tomatoes releases more lycopene, which protects arteries. Eating nuts in moderation supports brain and heart health. Even the way they season with herbs instead of heavy salt helps reduce blood pressure without sacrificing flavor. These practices show that food doesn't just nourish the body, it guides the way communities live long, vibrant lives. In contrast, many Western diets strip food of its natural structure. Fiber is removed, sugar and fat are concentrated, and chemicals are added for shelf life. The result is meals that fill the stomach, but starve the cells. When you compare a steaming bowl of minestrone soup in Sardinia to an instant noodle cup from a gas station, the health outcomes aren't surprising. One feeds longevity, the other fuels inflammation. One popular tool to detect plaque is the coronary artery calcium score. A score of 0 sounds reassuring, but it doesn't always mean your arteries are clean. Plaque begins soft, like a blister under the skin, and can take years to calcify. In fact, studies show that many people with a score of 0 still carry dangerous soft plaque elsewhere in their vessels. That's why doctors caution against assuming 0 equals 0 risk. I once met a man in Denver, age 62, who proudly told me his calcium score was perfect. He believed he was safe, yet months later, he suffered chest pain during a hike. Further testing revealed non-calcified plaque blocking part of his arteries. His story is a reminder that numbers are just one piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture. If your calcium score is high, it's a clear signal to act quickly. Medications might serve as a short-term safety net, but the real solution lies in lifestyle changes. Think of pills as a life raft, not a yacht you can live on forever. They keep you afloat, but you'll need stronger daily habits to row back to shore. This is also where online advice can become misleading. You'll hear shortcuts like eat more butter, or go 0 carb, or just take this supplement. But extreme solutions often trade one problem for another. Saturated fat, for instance, can stiffen arteries within hours, even if your blood sugar looks fine. Relying solely on supplements skips over the complex synergy of nutrients found in real food. So yes, the calcium scan is useful, but what matters most is how you respond. Use it as a wake-up call, not a permission slip. Your daily choices, what's on your plate, how much you move, how well you manage stress, are what truly determine whether plaque grows or shrinks. Calcium is often linked with strong bones and healthy teeth, but when it comes from the wrong source, it can become a problem. Whole foods rich in calcium, like bok choy, almonds, sesame seeds, or tofu, deliver the minerals slowly, alongside fiber, magnesium, and antioxidants. This natural balance allows your body to absorb and use calcium safely. But when calcium comes in pill form, it can flood your system too quickly. Studies show that excess from supplements may actually encourage calcification inside blood vessels, raising the risk of heart attacks. I remember talking with Mrs. Peterson, a 70-year-old from Michigan, who had been faithfully taking high-dose calcium tablets for years. She believed they were protecting her bones, but her cardiologist found early signs of arterial stiffening. When she switched to a food-first approach Adding leafy greens, nuts, and fortified plant milks, her bone density held steady without the unwanted side effects. Her case highlights why more is not always better. Another overlooked piece is synergy. Calcium alone doesn't work efficiently. It relies on magnesium, potassium, vitamin K, and even dietary nitrates to be properly directed into bone rather than soft tissue. That's why eating a variety of plant foods is more powerful than swallowing a single supplement. Your body doesn't need isolated megadoses. It needs nutrients working together in their natural form. The message is clear. Real food doesn't behave like a pill. Supplements might have a place in special cases, but for most people they carry risks when used long-term. A balanced plate filled with vegetables, beans, nuts, and whole grains supplies calcium at the right pace, with the right partners. And that's what keeps both your bones and your arteries strong. When we talk about blood sugar, many people think the solution is to cut out every carb. But the real issue isn't glucose itself. It's how long it stays elevated and how your body responds. Chronically high blood sugar binds to proteins and forms compounds called AGs, which damage blood vessels and accelerate plaque buildup. The tricky part is that your body still needs glucose. Your brain depends on it, and your DNA even uses sugar to build its own structure. The real enemy is the combination of excess sugar with saturated fat. Fat stored inside muscle cells interferes with insulin, making it harder for glucose to enter. That's why someone can have normal fasting glucose but still be insulin resistant. I recall working with Mr. Lee, a 64-year-old from Seattle, who kept avoiding rice but still ate bacon and cheese daily. His blood sugar looked okay on paper, yet his insulin levels were sky-high, fueling inflammation and hidden plaque. This is why low-fat, whole-food, plant-based diets have such dramatic results. They clear fat out of muscle cells, restore insulin sensitivity, and lower both blood sugar and insulin naturally. Patients who switch often see their A1C drop, their cholesterol improve, and even their blood pressure stabilize. And the best part, they do it without feeling starved. Lentil soup, quinoa bowls, roasted sweet potatoes with cinnamon, these are filling, flavorful meals that heal rather than harm. So instead of chasing numbers on a meter, the goal is to calm inflammation and restore balance. That means cutting the bad carbs, refined flour, sugary snacks, and cutting the bad fats, especially animal fats. It doesn't mean giving up all carbs. It means eating them in their whole form, wrapped in fiber and nutrients, just as nature intended. That's how you prevent diabetes from progressing and protect your arteries at the same time. Your arteries are not fixed pipes. They are living, dynamic tissue that can heal when given the right tools. The real choice comes down to what's on your plate each day. Every meal is either adding fuel to the fire of inflammation or turning that fire down. Leafy greens, beans, fruits, and whole grains are not just food. They're medicine that works quietly, bite after bite. If you've ever felt trapped by your numbers, whether it's cholesterol, blood pressure, or blood sugar, know this: you're not powerless. The science is clear, and countless stories prove that change is possible at any age. You can protect your heart, restore energy, and keep your independence by choosing differently today. So take that first step. Let food become your strongest ally, not your silent enemy. And remember, your health is your greatest wealth.